I think a lot of silent communication is getting down from the top, and it's time for having a little of interactive talk. Most of you here seem to have a nice smile on your face. Some of it seems to say, I know it all. Some of it seems to say, well, I think I know about it. And I think it really goes to show that there is a lot of knowledge in this part of the world. Our next session is going to be an interactive talk, a panel discussion by none other than Alex of Technoform. And we don't need to talk more about polyamides and energies and details, and based on what he wants to say. He's picked up his own panel. He knows with whom he wants to converse. And welcome to Alex Danziguin. He's trying to do something in India too. He's already set up machinery there. So with few words, I invite him to invite his team.
Thank you, Naveen. Good afternoon. I know we have some delay. Thank you for bearing with us. I'm sure all of you are starting to get hungry. It's always a bad idea to be right before lunch and right after lunch, I think. Hopefully, we'll try to be quicker than planned so that you can all go for your lunch. I would like to introduce the panel we have for this first panel session today. Badia is here. Badia Touma graduated from Lebanese University, Institute of Fine Arts with a master's in architecture. He began his career in Lebanon and with international firms working on local and international projects, mostly focused on residential. But then he moved in Qatar in 2005 and handled many different types of projects, both on the commercial side, hospitals, schools, large-scale developments with MZP Partners, architecture firm. Badia currently is the executive director of La Casa Qatar. La Casa Qatar is one of the prominent architectural firms in the Gulf area. And he has a quite long track record of, with the company of projects executed within time and within budget. This is not something you hear every day. Badia has become recognized as one of the leading architects centralizing his efforts in all kinds of complex projects and successful ones. Badia, join us on the stage. The next panelist is Dia Al-Masri. He's the general manager and co-founder of Qatar Green Leaders. Qatar Green Leaders, please come up also, Dia. They specialize in green building certification management, both under LEED and GSAS certification systems, which we will discuss in some minutes. He has more than 22 years of experience in architectural design and a senior architect and designer himself. He has a keen interest towards encouraging and accelerating local adaptation of the green building and sustainable development practices. He has also a long track record of achieving sustainable design projects and goals in large number of the projects. He has a multidisciplinary team who are working with him at the green building certification process during the design as well as the construction later. He has also strong experience in the green building concepts, lead programs, design management, and public awareness. He is a pioneer in developing green building training in Qatar and around the GCC. Thank you for being here. Next, we will have also Walid Ibrahim. Walid, please join us. Walid is from Egypt. He graduated from the University of Alexandria with a Bachelor of Architecture in 1995, and as soon as he graduated, he started his career in Egypt. Welcome, Walid. In 2002, he joined James Kulbit and Partners in Doha. Oh, I thought it's a fire alarm. We just started, so give me a break. He has over 20 years of experience in the discipline of architecture, and Walid brings a variety of experience to the firm. He worked intensely on various commercial projects, office buildings, housing projects, and other different facilities like sports and fitness centers. He has a concentration on public buildings, and he has become recognized as one of the finest architects for public buildings in Doha. He possesses exemplary skills in maneuvering the difficult and complex problems, challenging, sophisticated, and unique projects. So we will be happy to have his experience. He is a member of the GORD, which is the Gulf Organization for Research and Development. Green sustainable architecture is further adopted through his work with a holistic approach to active photovoltaic cells, which we will also discuss about. So it's good to have you on board. Next, we have Dr. Neil Kirkpatrick. He's the head of sustainability at Faithful and Gold. Neil, welcome. Neil is experienced as a project director and has international authority on sustainability for the building and the nature environment around the building. Over 30 years experience working with the highest government entities, development consulting organizations. Neil has experience, his experience includes program and project management and helping to inform decision making linked to master planning. This is important in this part of the world. As you know, we have a lot of new cities coming up, Lusail as a good example. So he has quite an experience in the master plan and also the buildings and infrastructures around. He has developed and implemented a number of national policies and strategies, including guidelines to improve sustainability for new buildings in UAE, in the UK, also in Qatar. He has also advised on greenhouse gas emission effects and at the Kyoto Protocol, and so he was really active in this field. He has worked directly with members of the royal family in the United Kingdom, the ruling family in UAE, and advised government and ministries in the UK and the European Commission. So he is quite an expert also in the GSAS and the certified green professional of Istidama and Pearl qualified professional. He has really a big experience in all this, so we will really need your help today. Next, also Firoz Kashwara from Future Glass is here with us. He is the founding member and currently the general manager of Future Architecture Glass, which is exhibiting outside. He has a master's degree and specializes in operations and safety glass manufacturing. They have a very advanced plant in Ras Al Khaimah in UAE, and they are really pushing the barriers of international quality norms on this topic. Welcome, Firoz. Last panelist, but not least, we have Usama Zubde. Usama is coming from the execution side, from Alumco Qatar. He's managing the company here as a facade contractor. He's also from Lebanon, originally graduated from Beirut Arab University and has over 20 years experience in the facades in the Alumco group. First in Lebanon, then in other regions in the Gulf, and he's been in Qatar since 2006 and leading Alumco activities here and become one of the most important facade contractors in the country. They have worked on major projects like the Barwa Commercial Avenue, the Emiri Terminal, Barwa City, 8 towers in West Bay, and many other projects. So, welcome all the panelists. Our topic is facade design efficiency in Qatar. And I'd like to begin with Badia. If you could give us really briefly a short history, what brought us to this point? Why are we today discussing in Qatar about efficiency in facade designs? Could you give us an idea quickly?
Okay. First of all, thank you for the introduction and thank you for the chance of being here. Basically, what I would like to explain or to cover is not the technical part of this topic, but mainly what are the drivers for us to be here actually today talking about these things. The construction industry in Qatar started booming actually around 2003 and picked up big time around 2006, 2007. At that time, basically, almost everybody in the market had a major learning, let's say, in the industry. A lot of people, in terms of developers, consultants, contractors, were new to the market and were new to the constraints that are in the market. And I'm talking about mainly the things related to environmental. Now, how things developed is a lot of the projects were driven by criteria that made the project go through processes that are extremely quick and extremely fast. And the main driver for people, mainly developers, clients, in executing their projects was just finish quickly, get things done quickly. And nobody actually looked at the operational part of the project. Now, after this, I don't know, 10, 12 years of construction, and we have buildings that are ongoing, people started realizing more and more how difficult and how dangerous the issue of sustainability is. So, if we consider a project starting from scratch, the main concern was the capital injection in a project, and everybody went to, yes, nice shapes, designs that could be a bit eccentric, and they innovated and they tried to do, let's say, experimental approaches to buildings. When it came to the execution of the building and the budget of it, everybody, almost everybody, dropped it down to, let's say, the basic components, the most economical components that would actually finish the project. I don't know how to say it in a nice political way, but the minimum fit for purpose type of requirement. Then the problems started showing in the operations and people started suffering from it. When they did the actual comparison between the initial capital and the lifespan of a project, this is where people started really saying that, okay, we need to look at things a little bit differently. Now the whole, let's say the whole problem that we are facing currently is coming from different sources. One of them is definitely how we design and how we budget a project. One of them is also the requirements of the developers that sometimes are shooting for the stars and then at the end of the day bringing down everything to the bare basics. And then definitely the execution of it, which is also a learning curve. A lot of people entered the market and tried to do things in a certain way that turn out sometimes to be correct, sometimes to be wrong. So all these things together, combined, are driving us today to look at the project in a totally different way. The industry, let's say today, is not looking at anymore at doing things quickly, at doing things economically. They're looking at the lifespan of a project. They're considering 20, 25 years of investment and against the return that is, in parallel with it. And they're evaluating accordingly what needs to be done. Thankfully, these things are starting to be implemented more and more in a scientific way, let's say, that is giving good results. From another point, which is related to government authorities and regulation, definitely in Qatar there is no incentive to push for new technologies and to push for investments in that field, mainly because the cost of energy is quite low compared to other areas.
Sure.
So if you take this aspect into consideration, developers don't have the incentive to go the extra mile to get buildings and mainly building envelopes efficient that would actually benefit on the running cost. Again, this is one of the things that, from the regulation authorities' point of view, is being tackled. GORD and GSAS is working on it intensively. Kahrama is working on it. Ashghal is working on it. So overall, it's all coming together, and it's getting to a point where very soon the buildings will start look different and feel different. And I think that the further we go in this, let's say, construction experience that is happening here, people will start realizing that durable and efficient is actually to the benefit of,
pays off.
Of and it does pay off. So
Good.
This is a global, I would say, vision.
Thank you. So the news is good, but there is more to be done.
Oh, definitely.
Especially on the benefits. Right?
Definitely.
Walid, what are we doing? I mean, sustainability, efficiency, is it, I mean, are we taking the things that we see in Europe and just copy paste here, or do we really have a local culture, a local design, sustainable design?
Yeah, well, we cannot say that we just copy from Europe, because actually we cannot do that because of the conditions is totally different between Europe and here. And when you talk about the conditions, we mean that we mean the land condition, the site condition, the climate condition as well. So when we put a design here, our concept is totally different because of these conditions. Actually, for instance, when you talk about the design of the facade, when we design a facade here in this region, and because of the humidity and because of the hot weather, we put in our consideration that the design should prevent the heat to come inside the building, while it is totally different in the other regions. And that is why Qatar is having a special rating system for the sustainability for it. And in this rating system for the design and for the construction as well, they consider the conditions of the climate, which is different than the one in Europe. And although we are using the same codes in design, and we have the same goal, which is providing a sustainable and eco-friendly projects to the area, but the approach is different from that. For instance, also, if we talk about the water and the energy conservation here in this area, we know that we don't have that natural resources of water. That is why we have to desalinate the water, and that means that we need to use more energy to produce water. And that's why you find in the rating system of GSAS that they give a big percentage for the conservation of water and electricity as well. So for your question, the answer is no, we cannot just copy and paste from the concept design of Europe.
What about the other ones in the Middle East? So we have also, let's say in UAE, they have also some
Yes.
such efficiency codes and sustainability codes. Climate
Yes.
is the same, the water problems, desalination is the same, what you said.
Yes,
Are we close to that? Or
yeah,
we
it's very close.
It's in the
very
same
close,
spirit.
and I believe that in KSA they are using GSAS also for the rating system, like here in Qatar.
Okay. I'll have a question for Neil. What are the main ways of sustainability? I mean, we saw this morning quite some things which were very interesting. Some of them we will talk about again. But when you want to have, as a specialist of sustainability, I mean, if I want to have a sustainable facade, I mean, is it only about what materials I use in this building, or it's the direction towards the south, or what makes it sustainable? Can you tell us?
The trouble is, it's all very complicated, isn't it, really?
You don't have enough time for that.
And I've got 39 minutes.
Oh, we all do together.
So what happens in this part of the world? Actually, many people are going in the direction of rating tools. It's a way of streamlining that complexity. It gives us a score. It gives us a handle to say, well, we've achieved our desired level of performance. I'm a GSAS certified green professional. A number of my colleagues are. I don't like rating tools. I really don't like rating tools because they sometimes, if like, take away the innovation in terms of building design. And if you do look at the good bits in rating tools, I would look across the water, the land, and go to Abu Dhabi and look at the Astadama Pearl rating system. And one of the mandatory requirements as a government-endorsed rating tool is the integrated design process, sometimes known as the integrated development process. One might argue that's missing. It's missing from GSAS. GSAS is not a government tool. It pretends to be a government tool. We can talk about that in a second. The integrated design process requires people to work with each other. To answer your question then, how do you make these buildings more sustainable? You've got to recognize that everything we do, one might argue, is making things worse. So what we're trying to do is to make things less worse. So if you look at all the nice discussions we've had today, you're using materials, you're using energy. It goes into the building. Guess what? 80% ballpark figure of the energy consumption is in the use of the buildings. So by working together, let's try